Caitlin here. Welcome back to my channel. We have several things to discuss today, one of them being books as always. But first, I wanted to discuss the fact that I decided to change my channel name. So previously my channel name was Dumble Baggins, and it had been that since the inception of my channel in I think like 2014 when I decided to start talking about books on here. I had been thinking about changing the name for a while, but I finally just, it just possessed me today to actually do it. But yeah, there's a number of reasons for this. The primary reason that I wanted to change my name was I felt like Dumble Baggins, my original name, didn't really in any way, shape, or form cue you into the type of content that I create on my channel. I don't think it really gives you any clues as to what's going on there. The idea behind that name was combining fandoms that I was really obsessed with at the time, being Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and just, smashing them into one, and hopefully, people would catch on to that, which I still find very endearing, and I still do care about those fandoms. I basically wanted to come up with a channel name that would give you an idea that I'm going to talk about books on my channel, and yeah, that's pretty much it. A secondary reason that I changed my name was because Dumble part of Dumble Baggins, it is associated with Harry Potter, and while I do believe that you can separate an appreciation for books with the author, it's not necessarily an association that I wanted to jump to somebody's mind immediately whenever they saw my channel name, because I don't support or condone that author's opinions in any way. So I just wanted to, just eradicate that association in any way. I had a lot of ideas turning in the pot of what I thought would be a very appropriate and cutesy kind of name for my channel that felt true to me, felt like something that would represent my content. I came up with the oh-so clever channel name, Books with Caitlin. I like this because, one, it does have the word book in the title, actually the first word, booked, and two, because I think it's kind of a cute play on words, you have essentially had that time booked out for you by me to talk about the books that I'm talking about, and that's pretty cool. Every time you click on one of my videos, you are choosing to book your time with me, Caitlin. So anyways, welcome to Books with Caitlin, the exact same channel with the exact same content that I have been producing and want to continue to produce. So hi! Anyways, today I want to discuss a number of books that I have read recently and very much so enjoyed. And yeah, let's get on with it. First, I want to talk about Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This is a book that so many people my age, my peers, read throughout school. I, for some reason, was just never actually assigned to read this book for school, and reading what it was about, it piqued my interest. So I, inserted it into my personal reading. This book follows a woman named Janie from her youth into her middle-agedness, whatever that noun is. Janie is a Black woman growing up in the South, and she kind of charts her course across various men that she ends up associated with throughout her life. But during that time, she is actually just discovering herself and her place in the world. It follows her as she learns to hear others' opinions and discard them as she wills. I love this book. I completely understand why it has gone down as a classic. I think one of the biggest strengths of this book is its use of dialectical accuracy. Zora Neale Hurston definitely went to the effort of writing dialogue in the dialect in which it was spoken by this group of people at this period of time. So I think that accuracy adds that level of detail that is necessary in order to make this story realistic. This book is fantastic. If you, like me, never had to read this during school, I highly recommend that you pick it up on your free time. I intend to pick up a few other books by Zora Neale Hurston. I've looked into some of her other books, and I'm really interested in reading Mules and Men, which I have since purchased, and I really actually want to read Tell My Horse, which is the book that she wrote whenever she was in Haiti doing research on voodoo and Haitian customs, and I really want to read that one because that was actually the time that she wrote this book while she was in Haiti doing research. I think it said she wrote it in this book in a span of 3 weeks or something. It was like a fiery passion sort of writing experience for her, which is interesting to me. Also, this edition of this book, I really enjoyed the introduction and the afterword, the foreword and the afterword, I mean. Next, I want to talk about The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I won't lie, guys. I like this one a lot. really like this one. I honestly was not sold from the very beginning. So this is a rom-com, a workplace romance in the publishing industry, following Lucy and Joshua, and they work for two rival publishing houses. They got merged into one, but they're like still kind of clashy in the culture, you know? And basically her and Josh, they hate each other, and there's basically no explanation for that other than the fact that their companies had two different cultures and they like stereotype each other because of that, you know? Which is why when I first started this book, I was not buying into it. Like I thought there was no reason for them to hate each other this much. This is like so much vitriol for no reason. And I just wasn't having it, you know? And I hated it because I hated it because it was so funny. It kept on making me laugh, and I was like, no, they're not funny. They're just being mean to each other for no reason. Why? But as it went on, as it kept on, you know, heating up a little bit, feeling a little bit more cutesy, it won me over, okay? You can't just put the hurt comfort trope like 100 pages into the book and expect me to not fall head over heels for it. Like, it's not my fault, it's this book's fault. By the end of this book, I was 100% on board with this book, with this couple. I love them. I have also since watched the movie for this book, and I liked it. It wasn't anything special. It definitely like rearranged the events of the book for Hollywood appeal. And I get it, you know, that's normal, that's natural. But also like it felt kind of weird to watch that when I knew like the order that happened in the book, and I was like, okay. And in the movie, the actual like culmination of the tension between the two characters, so bad, like so bad. It is good in the book. The book does it well, but in the movie, just it ain't it. It really ain't. Alright, next I want to talk about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I just want to say that y'all weren't lying about this book. I really expected to go into this and just think it was maybe okay, maybe not feel as passionate about it as other people. But I understand. I really do. This book isn't what you expect it to be going in. And the reason for that is that you can't spoil it before you go into it, because if you do, then that factor of what isn't there when you get into it. This book basically follows this woman named Monique, who is a reporter, and she's kind of like a low-level reporter at this magazine, and this huge Hollywood figure, Evelyn Hugo, reaches out to her magazine and requests Monique specifically to write this piece about Evelyn Hugo. And the magazine's like, excuse me? You want her? Like, why her? And that mystery kind of remains for the whole book while Monique is interviewing Evelyn Hugo about her life. For me, one of the coolest things about this book is that as a reader, you genuinely feel like you are Monique and you are interviewing this huge figure of a woman. Like, she's on the level that I would say of like Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn of our time, or our real world. And it's exhilarating because you want to figure out these things about her life. You want to figure out why you're there. And I'm like, no, Kaylin, you're not Monique. You're not. But you are. Kind of. This book is also just addicting to read. You definitely don't want to put it down once you get into it. I had several hours long reading sessions of this, which typically is too long for my attention span. But not with this book. It kept me going. This book is 100% worth the hype. I think pretty much everybody would love it. Next we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This book does not mess around. It follows a Black woman named Celie kind of from her childhood up until her middle-agedhood. Once again, we have reached this word that I don't know how to make a word, because it is similar in some ways to Their Eyes Were Watching God, but very different. Different time periods, definitely different characters and different attitudes. and very much different life circumstances that occur to these women. This book is really, really tough to get through. I think within the first 20 pages, you will understand what I'm talking about. It's not like, it is very harsh and very gritty subject matter. I want to point out content warnings in here for rape and pedophilia, straight to it. So it's not just like one scene in the book, it's like the first scene in the book. This book is told in letter formats, and the letters kind of change throughout the book. At first, Celie is writing letters that say "Dear God," which is just a very direct and cutting format as it is. And then I'd say about halfway through the book, the letters kind of change. There's letters coming from Celie's sister Nettie that say "Dear Celie," and there's letters from Celie to Nettie that say "Dear Nettie," and they're kind of relating their lives to each other as they're separated. The character arcs in this book are ridiculous, in a good way. Celie carves out the type of life for herself that she deserves, in terms of love, appreciation of self, and creating the career for herself that she wants as a woman. It definitely takes the whole book to get there, but like the satisfaction that you get from seeing this woman who has gone through so much, she's seen so much difficulty in herself and others, and seeing her get things that she deserves in life is really, really rewarding. And even the male characters who are less than wonderful at the beginning of the book change dramatically by the end, and the view of them through the eyes of the women in this novel is really striking because it shows how the women actually impact them over the course of the book. This is a tough one to get through, but I also recommend it if you are able to take in that subject matter. I also think I will definitely read some more Alice Walker books because she is a fabulous writer, and it really comes through in the format, the writing, the execution of this book, all of it. So this was a great one. Now on to a very different type of book. We have The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. This is a young adult fantasy book, which is part of a trilogy, and I read the entire trilogy recently. I binged it. This is the book that I mentioned that when I was 14, first starting this channel, I pre-ordered this book because I was so enthralled by the concept that I wanted to read it as soon as it came out. I read it 7 years later. This book follows a 16-year-old girl. She's 16 or 17. It follows a 17-year-old girl named Twilla, who lives in a kingdom called Lower Mare. And in this kingdom, she is considered this figure called Donan Embodied, which is like, Donan is a goddess for them, and she is the human incarnation of that goddess, basically. And she is able to kill people with her touch. So, yes, that sounds like Shatter Me. Yes, I knew about it. I read about this book before I read Shatter Me, and that's why this concept was so to me at the time. So essentially, Twilla is used as the executioner by the queen of this kingdom, and as you can imagine, that doesn't really do good things to the mind of a 17-year-old. So yeah, that's the basic setup of this book. I honestly did not expect to like it as much as I did, given that I hunted down this book when I was 14, and my reading tastes have changed considerably since then. But this was really, really fun. This first book in the series was an absolute delightful journey to go on. I mean, the plot is a little bit questionable. Basically, it's like confusing emotions, guard gets stung by a bee, love triangle, and it was fun. I won't lie. Does it make sense all the time? No. But this was really, really fun. So I expected to really, really enjoy books 2 and 3. However, it kind of just seemed to go downhill from here. This book was, I gave this book 4 stars, and then from there it was just like 3, 2, which, you know, it happens. It really does. But I'm so glad that I read the entire trilogy, but I can confidently say now that I would recommend this book as a standalone, because by the end of this book, you do get satisfaction regarding the main character. Maybe not the other characters, but the main character. And I think that she doesn't necessarily get more development or better development in the next 2 books. I think I was most satisfied with her character by the end of this book. So take that as you will. There are some interesting characters introduced in book 2, but also does not get a satisfying ending in the last book for them. In fact, I was a little bit mad about it. But I would recommend this. This is a fun ride. If you're looking for a little bit of YA fantasy escapism, then maybe just pick up Sin Eater's Daughter and not the rest of the series. Finally, I want to discuss the book that I just recently finished a few days ago, which is Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. This was my first book by Audre Lorde. She's mainly a poet and she regards herself as a poet, so it's interesting to start off with her prose, which she even says that she had to teach herself to write prose because she was a poet at heart, and I guess prose was just uncomfortable for her at first. But this is phenomenal. Audre Lorde is absolutely unflinching, so cutting in her observations of all the issues that she tackles in this book. This is a collection of essays and speeches by Audre Lorde, all compiled together, so they tackle a ton of different topics, primarily racism and sexism, but how they interconnect across a variety of things, different mediums of writing. For example, there's an essay in here called Poetry is Not a Luxury, and it's just about how devaluing poetry and viewing it as a luxury is diminishing to its actual value for the spirit of women. In her own words, poetry is a way we help give name to the nameless so it can be thought. I could go on and on about this book. But yeah, that essay, there's another essay about the power of the erotic, uses of anger. There's also like journal type portions of this book. There's one in which she is journaling about her time that she was in Russia. There's another at the end journaling about Grenada, and I actually found that one particularly interesting because she does not hold back in that one and lets you know exactly what she thinks about the US involvement in Grenada. Just listen to this paragraph from the uses of anger essay and tell me that you don't need/want to pick up this book at some point. What woman here is so enamored of her own oppression that she cannot see her heel print upon another woman's face? What woman's terms of oppression have become precious and necessary to her as a ticket into the fold of the righteous, away from the cold winds of self-scrutiny? This book might make you uncomfortable. It might make you evaluate the terms of your own feminism, the terms of your perspective in life. As soon as you start to feel uncomfortable, that's when you know that you're growing and that you're learning. So you really need to confront those moments. And Audre Lorde forces people to confront those moments, essentially. This book is necessary, powerful, and so wonderfully executed, and I would recommend it to absolutely everybody. All right, those are all the books that I wanted to discuss today. So thank you for tuning in to Booked with Caitlin for the first time, technically. I'm very, very excited about this mini little rebrand for myself. I even put a new picture, a new, what is it called? Channel banner, something like that. We're having a rebranding moment. Yeah, I'm feeling very excited about it. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.